Live. Okay, excellent. All right, welcome to episode 115 of Convos on the Pedicab with my buddy Mike. How we literally were trying to record a podcast on YouTube. Apparently there was no sound and we had an upload error. So we're going to try this one more time. We're going to do this live on Instagram, and we're going to figure out how to bring it to YouTube and do all this fun stuff. All right, last episode of the year. So I just want to thank everybody, all the new subscribers, all the new followers I have, all the new people that have really gotten into what I've been doing. I appreciate it so much. So my Christmas gift to you guys is it's a free episode. So no matter whether you're subscribed to the Patreon or not, you get access to this right off the bat. We're just going to put it out there as quickly as possible, though. Although we do got to give a big shout out to Texas Lake Girl on Patreon. She is a VIP subscriber. So shout out Texas Lake Girl. All right, Mike, so happy to have you. Mike is a pedicab driver, just like me. He also is a music producer. He's a DJ. He does.
I do it all. I do it all.
He does everything. He does everything. He puts on shows. What's the name of your company? What do you do? Let's go. Come on.
The name of our company is called Apogee Presents. We're based out of San Marcos, local production company, and I don't know. I got started doing what I do, trying to support the local community, local art scene, and it's steadily grown to where we're doing, large productions and working with legendary artists, so I'm very grateful and happy to do what I do.
That's pretty cool. You're working with somebody pretty big. Share. Come on, share with the class. Don't be shy.
Yeah,
don't be shy. I got energy. That coffee's kicking in. So
here we go. Tomorrow we're actually working with a tribe called Quest, actually. One of the members, Ali Shaheed Muhammad. And over the years, we worked with Grammy Award winning artists and things of that nature. And it's pretty cool because it's not something that I necessarily grew up see myself doing, but it's with time, I just kind of walked into it, and I love what I do. I do what I love, and what more can you ask for?
No, that is awesome. That is super cool. Did you have you always just put on events, or did you play music, or what else have you done creatively in that space?
Yeah, man. When I was in middle school, I was in an orchestra.
Okay.
We kind of talked about that earlier.
We did, yeah.
And I spent time in there. Then when I went to high school, I had to choose between sports or music. That was the way my school system works. I couldn't do both. What? That's kind of lame, though. It's very lame.
But to be fair, though, music in a school system is kind of lame in general. And if you really want to be an artist, I think sometimes the best artists are self-taught, because if you're learning within the structure of your music teacher, unless your music teacher made it big as a musician or played a million shows or was a real artist that was doing art because they love doing art, maybe that's not the person you want to be learning art and music from. It's like learning economics from somebody that's never ran a business. You know what I mean? or it's learning about finance from somebody that doesn't even have a solid portfolio. And I'm like, wait, why am I getting advice from you? You're getting skydiving lessons from somebody that's never jumped out of a plane. You're getting boxing lessons from somebody that's never fought before. So it's all. You probably made the right decision doing sports, but still, it's pretty lame. It's pretty lame that they have to make you choose.
Exactly. But I did the whole circuit played high school ball, played with professional players, as we were talking about, and it's when I came to college, it was kind of a reawakening in the sense that I refound my passion for music. So it was cool that I didn't even enter it as an artist, but more so as the person throwing the shows. And that's something I never really saw myself doing until I did it,
That's awesome. Yes. And also, being an artist is so hard. That takes so much blood, sweat, and tears. You put your whole life into it. When you're an artist, when you're making stuff, and I know because I'm making content on a constant basis, and because you've gone down that route of being an artist, and also just being an athlete, the amount of time and blood, sweat, and tears that it takes to become an athlete at a high level, you dedicate your life to do this. You sacrifice so many things. You sacrifice friendships, you sacrifice women that you might want to date, you sacrifice love, you sacrifice money, you sacrifice you could potentially sacrifice relationships with your family because of being an artist, regardless of where you are,
That's true.
And so if you're going to be doing this, you got to do it out of genuine love for what you're doing. And if you only do something, especially as thankless and exhausting as art, and you do it because you want to make money, first of all, you're an idiot and you should probably do something else, right?
That's true.
But second of all, you're not going to last because, you know, after that first big project that you put your whole life into and only 5 people listen to what you made, you're going to have no motivation to make something again unless you genuinely just love making things. And I'm super grateful that I'm at a point where I genuinely love making what I'm making.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy making stuff, whether I get 10 views or 1,000 views or 100,000 views or something. I love going out, and I feel like genuinely fulfilled going out and doing podcast episodes, going out, going to city council meetings, going out, like, doing fake petitions on the street, going out, we're going to troll corporations next year. That's my New Year's resolution. Like, you know, like, I just feel happy knowing that I'm doing it. And, you know, the purpose of me putting content out is literally to make more stuff. Like, it's like a never-ending, it's a never-ending, I want to get these things off. Okay. It's literally like a never-ending, it's never-ending. I can't even think of anything because I'm tired, but it never ends.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's exhausting, but I love it.
I love
Is
it.
that-
Yeah. I mean, that's the way. I always feel like, you know, throwing a festival is very much like a passion project. You know, it's not. It's like a thankless job, and you put in 6 months of work for 2 days of actual production. You know. Yes. And you know, you don't really make a lot of money from it, but like the experience is what makes it like worth it, because like people will come up to you and be like, dude, this is the best time I've had my whole year or my whole life. You know? And it's like, you can't really place the value on.
You cannot quantify that, especially when somebody you don't even know is going up to you, is commenting on your social media, or coming up to you telling you that they're a fan and that they love what you're doing, and then like, you guys are like, you're a hero, what you're doing is great, we love it, you know. I mean, granted, what I'm doing is a little more polarizing than what you're doing. Yeah. You know, I got face tattoos without having face tattoos.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like, if I try to get another job, I can't. Like, I'm stuck. This is what I have to do. But that's okay, because I love it. I want to do it, you know? And now I got no choice but to just do what I love to do. And, like, I got to take really good care of my body. And, like, my energy has to be really harnessed and focused. And so I have no choice but to be, like, the best version of myself because of what I've chosen to do, all right? But the point is, if you don't love the act of doing this, you can't do it. And you got to look at it like, oh my God, I made something that nobody cared about or looked at, and guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to make something else tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's the best. That's like the most fulfilling. That's like the most fulfilling life, I think, in the world when you really boil down to thinking about it, right?
You know, you should do things for yourself, not for others. You know. But you should care about others. Don't get me wrong. But
of course,
like, yeah, like, you know, do for others, but don't create for others. You should create for yourself.
You create for yourself.
Yeah.
You create for yourself, while also making sure you care. While also making sure that you care about others, and like and once you find good people that are gonna support you and help you, and people that you can trust and rely on, you never let them go, and you keep them as close to you as possible forever.
That's true. Straight up.
Yeah. So I think that's very important. You grew up playing high school basketball, and you played with some pretty well-known
people.
people.
Marcus Smart, Julius Randle, to name a few. And there's more people on top of that. But so I went to school in North Texas.
Yeah.
North Dallas area, and it was there, I would even say like basketball is more important than football. It's like that part of Texas.
Yeah.
Like basketball is king. And,
okay.
And you know, I'm 6'5" myself, but like I wasn't even like, I would play dudes who was 7 feet plus. You know, it's like very competitive high school basketball. And it was cool, man. It taught me a lot. I traveled the country playing basketball. Learned a lot, but you know, when it came down to it, when it came to graduating, I was so burnt out. And that's one thing that I'm happy I went through that, because it taught me how to go about the music business in a way where I learned how to balance my time spent, therefore I don't get burnt out. Because I think music is not that much different, like the music industry, it's not that much different than like maybe like sports and athletics, you know. It's like if you don't balance it out and give your time rest and breaks, then you can get burnt out where you don't want to do shit. You know, you lose all motivation. So like, you know,
it's a meat market.
Exactly.
It's a total meat market. Sports are a meat market. Even being a content creator is a meat market. Regardless of if you're a liberal or a conservative, right? The political machine is a meat market. The moment your stuff stops producing views or a reaction or has any kind of relevance or importance, the moment people will throw you to the wolves, right? I'm aware of this. This is what happens. That's why it's important that if you're going to make stuff, you're doing it because it's what you believe in. So no matter where the journey takes you, you're using your time on earth to actively try and make your life better and the people who you care about's lives better as well. Right. I think if you have that approach, and it's a genuine approach, and that's why you're doing it, you're going to be fine. You're going to be happy. You're going to be fulfilled. You're going to do something for the greater good, and you're always going to make real art no matter what happens. I'm grateful that I've learned that lesson and I understand that. When I was younger, I told you about this earlier, but the YouTube was all messed up, so I don't think anybody heard anything. But like, I wrote a book when I was younger in college. Like, I used to get drunk, keep a journal, right? I wrote sober commentary between entries, you know, wrote a book about it, right? And I did this for 2 years. In the beginning, I was writing drunk entries every time I got like fucked up from the bars, came home, wrote these journal entries. I did this for about 2 years. I had a friend, he cracked his head open on a pavement on like the Upper West Side of Manhattan in about 2006. And I like pushed him joking around and he fell and I got really scared. I spent a night in jail, long story short. I thought I killed him. Luckily, he turned out okay, but it was a big wake-up call. And after that, I kind of didn't want to do that anymore. And just, you know, a year later, like started trying to like learn jiu-jitsu and stuff like that and just got way more like in tune with like my body, eating healthy. I started like, you know, that part of my life no longer was like fun or relevant. Fast forward a couple years later, I'm a mediocre student with, you know, I graduated college into a recession. There's no big job opportunities. I'm living at home with mom and dad, not really doing anything.
Do what you gotta do, bro.
Yeah, not doing anything like productive in any capacity. And then I'm seeing stuff like Tucker Max coming out making like, you know, millions of dollars with his books, and I'm like, oh, I got this journal too. I'm gonna try it, you know. And so I turned it into a book. Nothing came out of it. All that happened was I couldn't get a job doing normal people stuff no matter what. And then I just found pedicabbing, wound up being really good at pedicabbing. Took an MMA fight along the way. All this other stuff happened, right? You know, throughout this process, started rekindling my creativity, but now I'm doing it because I'm genuinely just enjoy being creative. And, you know, whereas before I was doing it because I just wanted to make money. And I think you're just a better artist, you're happier, you're creating stuff, you build a better legacy, doing things because you want to make something. And so I'm like actually really grateful that this first project failed, because now I'm doing something with like a genuine sense of like meaning and purpose behind it, and you can't like put a price or quantify that in any capacity, right? So that's my little rant on it. But I know a lot of people that are in the music industry or even play sports or do things like that, and they do it for the wrong reasons. And when you have to work super tirelessly to make something, you know, when you're in a field that requires a tireless amount of work, with a negative reward on 99% of the times you do it, the only way that you can last in something like this is if you genuinely love it.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, it's live. Just talk loudly.
You know, I think you know, intentions speak volumes.
Yeah.
In the music industry, like people who are in it for the wrong reasons, it's easy to see them, and like people see that shit, they don't work with them. They oftentimes are people who get weeded out very quickly.
How so?
And like you know, they'll do an event, and then the first event that they might make some money the first couple events, but in the first event where they lose money, then they stop doing shows, or they screw people over and don't pay them, because they're like scared of losing money, and it's like you're in it for the wrong reasons, right?
Or they just speak, or they just communicate in a way, and they carry themselves in a way that you could just tell that they're not doing it for their love. They're doing it because they want something from you, and people can see through that really easily. And so I like, in order for me to even have a chance at doing anything meaningful and impactful, I have to genuinely love it, because everybody I talk to, they see these people that I'm speaking to, like, if I'm talking to like the GOP chair, right, or if I'm like, I was literally on Infowars, like on Harrison Smith's American Journal, right, like, the only reason I'm even in a position where, and this is what my hypothesis, the only reason I'm even in a position that people are wanting to talk to me is because, like, I genuinely want to do, like, I'm genuine about why I'm doing this.
Right.
And the only thing you can do in a situation like this is, like, actually be genuine.
I agree.
But what about, like, so do you have any stories of, like, because you've put on events, I'm sure you've, like, dealt with other celebrities aside from, like, Tribe Called Quest, right?
Right.
Okay. Do you have any horror stories about some of these celebrities?
Celebrities, not so much. I do have horror stories, more so in the game of just during events, and like, I kind of had a lot of like, I don't even know what the right term would be, where it's like you're questioning why you're doing something.
Yeah.
When it comes to a lot of these, especially because like in today's times, and I'm sure maybe in the past, but today is like, you have a lot of people who go to these events not so much for the music, but they go to like get fucked up.
Well, of course.
And they take like all types of crazy drugs and ketamine and a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Maybe even fentanyl by accident. And it's like, I deal with like this past year or two, I've run into a lot of like overdoses.
Ooh.
And that's been a very like stressful, very like questioning, like, am I doing like, is like what I'm doing really like worth it almost? That's been the biggest thing. It's not financial shit or the workload. It's more just like just the liability and the stress that's involved with that, and it's like, because you take on a lot of risks. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize that, like, to throw an event and have thousands of people come out with your name pretty much like being held at risk is a lot of risk, dude.
A lot of risk. If something happens, you're liable for damages. It's scary. How much of your own money you have to put into doing that?
It varies, but almost, ideally you want to like, it's a flip, right? So like, let's say you do a $40,000 event. Yeah. You want to make $50,000. That's the goal. Okay. But like up front, you're probably putting up like $5,000 to $10,000 to get to the ball rolling.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you make it back in through different means. But yeah, like, at this point in my career, like, the biggest event I've done out of my own pocket has been about $50,000,
Wow.
But I don't have, that's the thing, it's like, I don't have $50,000, you know what I mean? So it's like, you're very much banking on people buying tickets, you're banking on this and that.
Are people sharing the show? And in order to do that, you have to like, everything has to kind of almost work out perfectly.
Exactly.
And the people who are working under you have to believe in what you're doing.
Exactly. The weather has to be good. It's like there's a lot of variables. It's high stress. It's a very high stress industry, and it's not made for everybody. And it's not for the faint of heart. But the beauty of it is that when you do it, you become a fucking rock star, and it's like you change people's lives, dude. Because nothing is fucking cooler than fucking being in the middle of a crowd with 1,000 people from a show that you fucking threw, and everybody's getting down, having the best time of their lives.
That's a cool feeling, yeah.
There's nothing cooler.
Exactly. Or it's like you make stuff, and people are commenting on you and saying like, we love you guys, like you're like with me and Alex Stein, like, oh, you guys are heroes, keep doing what you're doing, like we really support what you're doing, we love what you're making. And when anybody says anything like that, it makes it worth it. Right. So I get it. It's kind of crazy, man. Like, we live in a society that's so divided, right? Like, if you like look at media narratives, you wouldn't think like I'm like, I hate saying this, but I'm like, some people might say that I'm becoming a right-wing personality or influencer or what all this shit, right? And then you're obviously not, and you're throwing you're throwing music events, right? you know, you're a BLM protester throwing music events, but like when you look at like what we're doing, like in terms of like the stress and the feedback and like the motivation and the exhaustion behind constantly making stuff, we're the same.
Yeah.
We're literally the same. We're just focusing passions into like different projects, right? Like, and it's kind of like that's why it's so important to do these episodes and talk to people, because you're like, if you spend all your time on Twitter or Facebook, you would think like, oh my God, we're so different from each other. I'm like, no, dude, we're literally identical. We're identical. We are identical with like 90% of what we're doing. Like you're like, I'm putting my entire life force into making things, right? I'm giving pedicab rides to fund making videos, right? Like I'm losing money with every project that I'm doing, right? You, at least when you put on events, you're making money.
Some of them.
Yeah, I'm losing money. I'm losing money doing this. I'm doing it because I want to do it, right? But the point is, like, there still is a connection of like people who make, like, when people make things and are passionate about making things, there should always be a connection of people who are passionate about making things because you like love making things. Right. If that makes sense.
Right. Definitely.
And I think that I'm sure you've ran into artists that were up and coming that like fell off. And I think a big reason is because they just probably weren't passionate about making things, right? Or they get in their head, and all of a sudden you put something out that you make
big-headed. You know, that's the big thing in the industry. It's like, you know, like let's say like, okay, you go on tour. Like one group, for example, it was like a rap group that started with me, and they ended up going on tour with like Freddie Gibbs. And they played this big festival in Miami. They played ACL, you know, all within like a year or two.
Yeah.
So it was huge takeoff, right?
Yeah.
But they got to a point where they stopped wanting to do local events, and they like wouldn't work with me or anything because I was not big enough, you know. And it was funny to see because it's like as quickly as they shot up, they also fell, you know, because they did not have that community support. They didn't have like a foundation. Like internet hype, they ain't shit, bro. Like,
ain't shit, exactly. And then once you lose relevance and you show no love on the way up, people remember that, and then you're done forever. At least like if you're doing tours, and I try to do this too, right? Like I had somebody hit me up to be on his podcast, and he has like 180 followers on Instagram. Right. You know what? I'm gonna do his podcast.
Right.
Because it's a good thing to do, to always talk to everybody, and maybe you could have a really good conversation and it could go somewhere really positive, right? So like I'm going to do it. I think it's important to talk to everybody. I think that's part of what this thing is about. You can't let like your perceived sense of importance get the best of you. I think that's really important. But that is the thing, right? Or like, you know, even with pedicabbing, we have a very up and down job, you know. Like one day you could make, well, we don't need to share what we make, but one day you can make a lot of money.
Yeah. Right?
One day you could be riding high on the wave. You have pretty girls hitting on you left and right. I mean, I'm in a serious committed relationship. That stuff is not for me anymore, right?
No girls hit on him. He's in a relationship.
Yeah.
No girls.
No, not at all. No, but still, like, I'm just not, it's not my thing, right? Like I can't do that, right? But like, the point that I'm making is that like, you know, it's really easy to like, it's a very up and down job, right? And if you can't manage your emotions and stay level while things are happening, you burn out. Even with pedicab, there are a lot of people will have like 3 months where they're like making insane amounts of money, loving the job, killing it, and then all of a sudden like they have 2 bad months, they're nowhere to be found.
Right.
I actually think that this happened with a lot of the people, because you came in at the height of mega inflation. Right. You came right after COVID. You guys started making more money than you ever knew what to do with.
Yeah, it was stupid.
It's crazy, right? Riding tricycles.
Yeah.
Now we're in a recession, and you're going to see monetary tightening, and you're going to like that party has a potential to come to an end. Okay, I have a feeling that a lot of the guys that started in the summer of 2021 are not going to be around by the time 2024 rolls around.
Well,
I really have that feeling that's going to happen. That this could be a real possibility, because nobody started anybody, like They didn't start off on a foundation. They didn't start off doing this when it was bad.
Yeah.
You know, there's no true test to see if they really love this job. I've done this job for like 9 years. I love it. I started this job in December 20th, 2013. My first couple months were in the dead of winter, and I was just happy to be on this bike.
Wow.
Right? That's what, like, that's another reason, aside from the fact that I can't do anything else and I'm kind of retarded.
Damn. You heard it first.
Yeah, no, say whatever. It's the truth. Yeah, I had IEP in high school, bro. I have like a whole bunch of learning disabilities. Anyway, moral of the story, like, point is though, like, I did this job and it was terrible, and I was like and I thought making like $300 was like amazing, you know, or a good night. And in doing so, I know that I love doing this job, right? So no matter what happens, I'm gonna just be happy doing this. Like, I love this job. This job is fun, you know, no matter what. A lot of these people that started in 2021 when everything was really good and things just reopened, they're not going to last when it's bad, because there was never a test to see if they really love this job. It's like dating a girl while you're a millionaire who didn't know you while you were broke. It's the same, you know what I mean? It's the exact same it's
an illusion.
Yeah,
it's like a disillusion.
It's a disillusion.
Yeah,
Exactly. Like, or like, you know, I actually am really grateful that I've been making stuff for years and years and years with like 5 views, 10 views, and nobody caring, right? And now it's up to 20 views, you know. But I'm grateful that it's been taking me forever to even get any kind of relevance, because I know that I love what I'm doing, because I did this for years and years and years on end with nobody even acknowledging anything.
Right.
And that's like a blessing, because like I know for a fact that I love what I'm doing, like that I'm fulfilled by what I'm doing. And I think that like my perspective on things has changed, right? Like it used to be where I used to get angry when I'm putting out stuff left and right and busting my ass, and some guy like a Tekashi 6ix9ine comes out of nowhere, you know, and just has millions of dollars just being a total degenerate, you know? But now looking at how what happens when people fly too close to the sun and how they get burnt, I'm like really thankful that wasn't my trajectory, like, because now I have an actual foundation of doing something that I love.
Yeah, it's important to grow. I always tell you, I want to grow like this, not like this. Yeah.
Oh, I want to grow like...
Well, like, yeah, you want to grow up, but like you want to do
up and to the right. You want to go up and to the right, not just straight up.
Exactly.
You want to grow up and to the right, like a healthy stock. Not your growth should be the trajectory of a healthy stock. Your growth as an artist should be along like the trajectory of like Apple from like 1985 to now, right? Like in terms of how that's an example, kind of like the way the stock grew.
And it takes time, you know. That's the thing. People always want to avoid or hop around. Is like just taking your time. And it takes time to grow something worthwhile, something substantial. You know, it doesn't grow overnight. You know?
Exactly, and it should take time, because if it doesn't take time, you don't appreciate it, and if it doesn't take time, you don't even know if you love doing it. Yeah. And the most fulfilling thing in life is to do what you're loving. And when things take time, you know for a fact that you love what you're doing, and that's worth more than money. Because when you do what you love, you have friends, you have closeness, you'll never go hungry. You know, you'll always have fulfillment. You'll always have what some guy with tens of millions of dollars is just gonna chase forever. Like the guy has to buy a new car every week. You don't want to be that guy. That's horrible. That's lame. You know, or the guy that has to bang a new girl every couple weeks. It's lame. I mean, hey, good for you if you're able to do it. Hey, good for you. You know, good for you, right? But it's not. You know,
every week. Bro.
Yeah. Hey, good for you.
Hey, I signed up for that one, bro.
Hey, well, speaking of which, so wait, all right. Okay, you were in a relationship though when you first started doing this job.
Yeah. Then I, you know, being in downtown Austin, man, you see some of the most beautiful women you'll ever see, bro. And being on a pedicab, a lot of those women want to come and talk to you and like, you know, interact with you.
Oh yeah.
And shit, you know, so it's like. It was a wake up call that being where I'm in my life and with that person, it was like I was not doing the right decision, you know, being with them. Like she, more or less, I think people have heard the term. It was kind of like a COVID relationship.
Oh, it was a quarantine. What?
Yeah, it was one of those, and it was you know, we got together during quarantine, and I started this job around the same time,
Okay.
But,
Okay.
It's just like it was the wake up call. That I was like, oh, this is like not what I should be doing.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I think that like ultimately, when you every person you sleep with, you get their energy. We were talking about this while we were eating before this, right? And I think it's an important thing to talk about, right? Because look, banging like super hot women on a consistent basis is fun, right? Like I said, I haven't done this in a long time, right? Like six years, but pre Vanessa, like, dude, it's fun, right? Like, or going on dates with people and trying to meet new people, or trying to like, explore a new relationship and all that stuff. Like, there's something exciting. It does present a level of excitement that that in many cases is more exciting than any other part of your life, especially if what you're doing has no personal significance attached to it, right? Like if you're some drone in an office, dude, dating around is like the most exciting part of your life, right? If you just do meaningless busy work, or you just work for like some bank or some mega corporation and you're not doing anything to like advance human fulfillment in any capacity, yeah, or even your own fulfillment, then yeah, trying to like date and trying to like date new girls or new guys or whatever it is, like it becomes like a sport. It becomes that's your excitement. But then like if you're doing something that you like are super focused on, and especially if it's an exhaustive process where there's almost no room for error, the only way that you could even ensure even having a modicum of a chance at success is if you are like super on point, and in order to do that, you have to safeguard your energy like nothing else, right? So like, I can't eat the processed industrial sludge. I have to sleep. I can't put like too many drugs in my body. I got to be careful with the amount of alcohol I consume. I can't sleep with anybody that's not my girlfriend. That's insane. You know what I mean? Like, not aside from the fact, like, you love this person, it's the only person you want to be with, and this is your person, right? Aside from that, just getting somebody else's energy, right, and putting that onto her, or like just having that mixture of other people's energies, it's going to take away from the energy that you need to have harnessed to do what you're to do what you're doing. No, to do like what you actually want to do with your own life. Yeah. And if you're not fulfilled in your own life, you can't be fulfilled in a relationship. Right. You can't. And so if you find something that you're fulfilled in, and you happen to have found that fulfillment while you were with the person you were with, and it just happened to have happened, you have no choice. Like, you have this is where you are, and this is where you are. This is your person, and this is the person you have to stay with, because it was like an act of God that they put you all together, right? So like, my attitude is like, dude, if you're like really passionate about making shit and putting things out there, you want your energy to be as harnessed as possible. So like, if you're out trying to fuck a bunch of chicks, you're losing out on the quality, like the quality of show that you might be trying to perform might be going down in quality versus like you might put on a better quality, start putting on better, even I'm sure the shows you put on are great. Like I went to one at Speakeasy like during South by, nice. And it was awesome, right? But there's a possibility that your shows might be even more awesome
if I wasn't so worried about that shit. Yeah.
If you just only had one girl that you were only focused on, and you weren't drinking and you weren't partying and you were eating like really like super healthy and you were sleeping for 9 hours and like your life was more within a certain regimen.
Right.
That's
I agree.
Yeah.
And I've been through all the periods, but to the contrary, I think the most damaging thing to my life has always been like being in a toxic relationship. You know what I mean? And that's the flip side.
That is true. That is true.
Side, so
that is 100% true.
So it's like I'm learning how to just be by myself and be happy with being by myself. That's where I'm at in my life.
Well, this is the longest. I've never had a relationship more than 6 months before I met my girlfriend.
Damn.
So I get it. I lived with my mom and dad until I was 27. Did you know that?
I know that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's another insight into why I'm the way I am too, right? Because I'm also pretty like, I'm a little goofy, and I like obviously I make fun of myself, and I'm like, do parody stuff, but I'm also very high strung about certain things, and I mean you've seen that, right?
Right.
I'm also like, dude, I have to do this. I'm a dog when I'm working. You know what I mean? I'm always making things. Like I don't like I can't stop resting. And I get mad a lot of times really easily, and people understand that like sometimes like extreme bouts of anger are also a sign of extreme levels of. There's also a correlation between extreme fulfillment, because I'm if I'm gonna get mad about something not working, it's because like, dude, I'm passionate. I'm passionate about this one thing that I'm trying to do, and I can't do my passion because of some bullshit. I have every right to be mad.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's good. That's great.
What's wrong with that?
That's a good thing. Like, that shouldn't even be worked on or addressed. You should be happy that something gets you going enough in the morning where you could be that angry about something.
Right.
Does that make sense? I think like that's the healthier, happier way to look at stuff.
You have to have the full spectrum, of emotions and everything. It's good to be. You can't know happiness if you don't get angry.
Dude, you can't know anger if you're never happy.
If you're never happy.
It's 1,000% true. 1,000% true. So
1,000, not 100.
1,000. So you had a birthday.
Oh my god.
Don't make your birthday.
Oh my god. Yeah, man. So
Because I know you wanted to talk about it. We didn't. Yeah.
in Texas, marijuana is not fully legal. In
Sure.
certain parts, it is decriminalized, but not in the whole state. And I was driving back from visiting family,
Okay.
rolling down 35, and I got pulled over in Bonefuck, Texas.
Okay. So what were you doing before you got pulled over?
So I got pulled over because I have a new car and I have a paper license, right?
Oh, okay.
So he pulled me over because my paper license was flapping in the wind, is what he told me.
Okay. You're in a small town, and this is how they get revenue. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. All right.
And I kind of made a mistake. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I had my passport because I lost my ID like a week ago.
All right.
So I had my passport on my center console, but also that's where I put the weed. I just had it there, just not even thinking about it. And when I went to go pull my passport out, he saw the weed. So therefore, he searched the car and found the weed.
Okay.
I had like 2 grams of weed, and ended up getting booked on my birthday, and went through this whole process, man. And beyond that, not just to make it about me, I just had such a big wake up call just to how fucked up the whole industry is, man. And it's like, it's not about justice. It's not about reforming people or helping people out. It's literally about exploitation and just free, like, cheap labor.
Oh, of course. All of the top companies in the top gross earning companies in America, or even globally, like they get a lot of their product is from prison labor. It's
Right.
like slavery. Yeah,
Right.
Of course. I mean, that's why they used to give people long jail sentences for like smoking weed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Terrible, dude. That's horrible. I think that's really dangerous. Unfortunately, you're seeing a flip side of this, which is gone completely over the top to the point of insanity.
Okay.
Where you have so do you know who our district attorney is?
No?
Okay. Our district attorney is a guy named Jose Garza. And then there's and Jose Garza is basically you know who George Soros is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you know about George Soros?
He's like the evil man on the Democrat side.
He's the evil guy. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, more or less. And
Do you-
he funds a lot of bullshit. He is a I guess you could say like the invisible hand in a lot of things,
Yeah, he's the puppet master right now. Okay.
Right.
Let me give you my basic like elevator pitch about who George Soros is and what is so dangerous about him. Okay? And it's not just him, but it's a specific example. Okay?
There you go.
So, George Soros was a hedge fund mega billionaire. Okay? In the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. He made $1 billion in 1990 or 91, shorting the British pound, and created a financial catastrophe in Great Britain in the early 90s because of this. Okay? He also, in order for tax purposes, and also, ultimately when you get to a certain level of wealth, money is no longer an object. It becomes about more control, right? And wanting to play God. And so he's created this foundation called the Open Society Foundation, which is basically a social justice umbrella organization in order to bring about certain progressive changes on a global level. And these versions of progressivism are based on how he feels, as well as his board of directors and the people that he gives money to. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right? And so the Open Society Fund, and with foundations like this, people, billionaires and, they're their cronies, right? And a lot of financial executives will donate money to these foundations as a tax write-off too. Hey man, I donated to your foundation. By the way, I made my foundation. You should donate to my foundation. Yeah. Because I donate this amount of money to your foundation, and it's a social justice foundation, please make it so that, when we're doing wage theft, when we're doing, when we're exploiting our workers through prison labor, when we're dropping toxic chemicals into the ocean, please make it so that that your activists focus on something else.
I like that. All
right.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why we're going off topic a little bit, which is why the Black Lives Matter protesters never destroyed an insurance company.
Wow.
Right? Like, when BLM started happening over the summer, who got fucked up? Which companies got fucked up? It was like small businesses. It was like small business owners. It was like car dealerships. Maybe a couple McDonald's here and there, but it was like bars, small businesses, and like residential area, like residential homes in middle class areas. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not a coincidence that they didn't throw a Molotov cocktail through the Facebook building, or through Apple, or through Google, and I'm not advocating this, but I'm just saying, it didn't happen, and that this is, I think, why it didn't happen, because executives or the wives of these executives or a family member or something will donate to a certain charity, and a certain charity and a certain organization, and that organization in turn will fund other organizations, or fund unions, or fund nonprofits, or buy certain media companies, right, like The Guardian or Vox or something like that, and they'll cover identity politics, they'll cover something else, they'll cover police brutality instead of covering how insurance companies exploit people, right? We have a student debt crisis. Dude, how come nobody did anything? How come nobody in the Forgive Student Debt crowd did anything to any of these for-profit private universities that have been exponentially raising their prices to the point of putting kids in a lifetime of crippling debt, because the government is literally lending out money for kids to go to school, which all it does is it benefits banks, it benefits the government, and it just puts insane amounts of money in the pockets of these universities, and all they do is create bigger departments, or departments that have no relevancy to any real world applicability, and then in turn they just charge even more tuition. How come none of those entities were held accountable? How come the We Want Healthcare the We Want Healthcare crowd didn't go after any of the for-profit health insurance companies that exploit people on an everyday basis and do everything they can to refuse to pay benefits out?
That's true. That's very true. And it's because it's we're just misled. Ultimately we're misled. Everything's a scam. Even the Black Lives Matters. The issues that they were speaking on are very real issues. Don't get me wrong. But
I agree.
But the organization that was behind it was just a scam, dude. And it's they collect people's money and then they use it for their own means. And if you go to those communities that they were protesting over, the Fergusons, the just different communities across the board that they were activating for, those communities are in a worse spot than they were before, and it just shows that the billions of dollars that were donated were not used in a righteous way, and that's the saddest part about it, because it's they manipulate people, and they just straight up manipulate. They use people off of real issues, but it's just it's a trick, It's the sad part about it, because shit is real, bro. Shit is real. Being a black person in America, bro. This country, we built this motherfucking country, but this country has never been in favor of us, it's always been in favor of lighter skinned people, based on the history of just the Europeans coming here. When Europeans, so like little history fact, the term white wasn't used until the 1500s, more or less. There was never a term. People never classified themselves as white people, right? It was never like, I'm a white person.
Well, you also had things were a lot more close knit, right? So like people also grew up never seeing somebody of a different race before, right? When you didn't have like
negative.
Really?
So historically speaking, you had Spain and many European countries were actually very diverse. Spain used to be ruled by Africans, the Moors.
Oh, the Moors. That's actually true. Okay, you're right. You are right, actually. Okay, you're right. You're right.
But in a real sense, people always classify themselves based on their nationality.
Yes.
Not on the way their skin color was, right? So if you're Spanish or you're English, you'd be like, I'm English. I could be an English person, right? Be like, I'm English. You're English, right?
Okay, that makes sense. All right, yeah.
But the term white versus black or brown or whatever was used whenever Europeans started colonizing the Americas, North and South, and they used it in a way because they were outnumbered, right? They were outnumbered because there was black people here before slavery, and there was brown people here, Native Americans.
Yeah,
and they used it as a way to kind of unite all these different, because like before, the English would fight the French, and the French would fight the Spanish, and they were always fighting each other, right?
Yeah.
But they used it in a way to like, okay, we need to unite under one thing, and what can we unite under? That we're white, So like modern day race is a very new age thing. It's not a human thing. It's a very new age concept that creates a lot of division, and I hope that people could see past it, ultimately, and work past their shit, because if we don't, we're just going to end up killing each other for what? Over the color of somebody's skin?
Well, I don't think we're going to get to that point.
No, we've been doing it. it's been happening for hundreds and hundreds of years, bro.
I think that actually we're probably more tolerant and loving and accepting of other people now than we have ever been throughout our history in a very long time.
Right.
I really do. I really do. If you look at the past 300 or 400 years, we are probably more tolerant. We are probably more tolerant and accepting of differences than we've ever been in history. And you have a media and an oligarchy of people that is trying to continue dividing us. And there's a multitude of reasons why, I think. And one of the reasons is control, right? But another reason too, especially in America, is that we're a country that's $32 trillion in debt. We have extreme wealth consolidation, wage theft. There is insane money printing and super irresponsible money printing, right? Like really reckless fiscal policies. And eventually we're heading to a point where the middle class grows smaller and smaller, and people are getting angrier and angrier. And the moment everybody says, hey, wait a minute, these motherfuckers at the top, like these central bankers, these government officials, the people that are next to the money printer, they're the ones that are destroying, that did this to me.
Right.
The people that are still in charge are they're gonna have to be facing a reckoning, right? So if I'm in charge, what am I gonna want to do?
Right.
Oh, why don't we just continue division amongst the common people? Why don't we just have our subjects fight each other? Because this way we don't have to deal with this anymore. The more our subjects fight each other, and the more we drum up a narrative of racism and try to push this stuff onto people, the more we can start surveilling our own citizens and enhance our control over them, while the illusion of our control is pretty much hanging by a thread. Especially while you're in the age of unprecedented information. The more information that's available to you, dude, the less likely anybody is to want to recognize these people as legitimate sources of authority. Like I said earlier before we started filming, the people the 0.001% of the population that dictate global policy are only powerful because we give them power and we comply with what they tell them and we trust them to be experts. The moment these people lose their trust, the moment they're no longer experts.
Right.
And that's why it's so important to just mock these people relentlessly, because that helps erode the trust that that they didn't even earn. So that being said, it's like, of course they want to manufacture racism. The more they manufacture that, the more they get to do Patriot Act 2.0 against us.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, from the get, it's always been about control. It's been about, like, mind control, you know? Like, you want to preach that, like, one of the biggest justifications for slavery back in the day was that they would preach that, like, you familiar with Cain and Abel?
Yeah.
The biblical story?
Yeah.
So I think it goes like Cain killed Abel. That was like the first murder
Yeah.
in the Bible. And Cain was of darker skin, you know? And he created the original sin, or like one of the, like, the worst sins. And, like, therefore, it was used as justification to be like, well, this is why it's okay to, like, enslave these people versus not. Like, it's like, you know, like, it's okay for us to, like, make these people slaves, but, like, because they're dark and they come from Cain, you know? It's just like...
There's that. There's also the British, and we did this too with, like, Manifest Destiny, as we called, like, the native savages, or we called, you know, they called the African savages. Hey, we're teaching them to be good Christians.
Yeah.
Right? And now with today's wokeism, like the wokeism that's happening right now, right? Like, modern day wokeness is colonialism in the 21st century.
More or less, yeah. Yeah, I can see.
It's colonial. It's like, oh, these people that don't want to wear their masks or get their vaccines, these small business owners, these Trump supporters from Middle America, they're deplorables. They're racist. They're transphobes. They're bigots. They're homophobes. Sure, some people are, but most of them are not. Most of them are just fed up with the system.
Yeah.
And they, you know, they're relying. Unfortunately, people are still relying on a savior and somebody to save them, and that gets exploited by people in power. And it's like, and you call them all these names, and what that does is it justifies, you know, spying on them. It justifies freezing bank accounts. It justifies creating central bank digital currencies to keep tabs on people. It justifies not hiring somebody if they don't get this certain shot that's made by Pfizer or Moderna. Right. It justifies having complete control over their child's education in order to create a permanently dumbed down version of society that has no sense of identity, that becomes extremely easy to manipulate. And that's why, like, all this stuff with, like, yo, the drag queen coming in and, like, reading to kids and, like, all that, the kid drag shows and all that stuff, like, right. It's like the cherry on the top of trying to condition kids to, like, not be able to accept differentiation between reality and fiction. And when you can't accept reality and fiction, when you can't see the difference, that's how you get fascism.
That's true. I agree. I mean, everything is set up for it as it is. You know, there's bigger things, like, at play. This shit is, like, planned. You know, the good and the bad. But it's like, at the end of the day, you have free will, you have free choice, and I think it's like, it's important to always think about what you can do in the life you want to live, because, you know, like, that should be priority number one. You shouldn't be so caught up in how other people live or how they want to live their life. You should be more focused on you. Because it's like,
I agree with that, but I also think that if an entire society is like you're also familiar with, like, Sodom and Gomorrah and, like, you know, Noah's Ark and, like, everything that happened with, like, complete cultural degradation and God destroying an entire, like, section of the earth because of how bad it was, and you see some parallels to it, right, with everything that's happening. And if an entire society falls victim to complete cultural degradation, and you see abject tyranny going on from the people controlling that society, and you don't want to be enslaved, you need people to still help you. And if these other guys, and if the whole group of society is going to be completely brainwashed by a system that's allowing themselves to be enslaved into tyranny, then it does become your business. So there is a weird, like, there's a weird threshold that people still need to figure out.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still figuring it out.
I'm still figuring it out. I don't know anything, bro. Like, but I think that's my take on it, right? Yeah. And it's really easy to be like, yo, these people are hateful. These people are bigots. These people are this. I'll throw every name at you, right? Nah, dude.
It goes deep.
No, this is the reason why. It's not about hating anybody. It's about loving humans. And if you love humans, you want to be, you want to create a society where humans have self-sovereignty to help not only make their own decisions, but come together. Like, not the whole world shouldn't come together. That's impossible. But come together within their local communities to make their own rules. Because the moment people can't make their own rules within their own communities is the moment you get actual tyranny and fascism.
Right.
Even if the rules in that community aren't perfect.
Right.
Even if that community is backwards, okay, well, fine. Then that's that community.
Even
yeah.
if they arrest you over some weed.
That's some bullshit. Do you think that was because of your skin color?
It probably didn't help, like I said.
Or was it because there was literally weed right in front of the cop?
Yeah, I mean, that's
yeah.
But I think I was definitely profiled, But at the end of the day, you have to like not let that affect you.
No, I agree.
We're recording a podcast.
Yeah.
Right now.
Hey, Mike, let me ask a question though.
Oh yeah.
Mike, question though. Do you think your skin color hurts, helps, or has no viable role in terms of how well you do on the pedicab?
I think all the above.
That's so, doesn't it?
I think it does. I think, yeah, definitely it helps. It just depends. It depends on who the customer is, Like, but I don't know. I don't go through my life thinking like, oh, I'm a black person, like in America. Like, I don't live my life like that. But it is a thing, dude. It's like there's no way around it. It being black. I think one of the most fascinating things is that like I said before, like we straight up built this country,
Oh, yeah.
And the resources, we have not been given our fair share of the resources, right, for the work that we've done. But on top of that, like, look at entertainment, look at athletics, look at anything that has to do with like pop culture, right? In America, we are 12% of the population. I think last stat I saw. We're like 12% of the population, but we make up probably 80% of all entertainment and celebrities, bro. Like, look around, movie stars to musicians to athletes, bro. It's black people. And it's like, that really is fascinating to me because it's like, what makes us such an icon, like iconic, Like, as a black person, you're very iconic, but at the same time, you're also like, you're also viewed as a criminal, but at the same time, like the same person who's like a racist probably like hates black people but loves Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? It trips me out, bro. It trips me out.
Listen to Wu-Tang in the car.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like
that is
it's weird. It's like a mind fuck. So
of
like,
course. Okay. All right.
What are you getting at?
No, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think though that has to do with the fact that the media that some of those black celebrities are become celebrities because they are playing the role of a criminal because the media and the people who run the media want to continue creating that narrative?
Yeah, I think some of them. Yeah, some of them. But
like the prison conditions are a rendition of modern day slavery, right? Like, a bunch of the biggest companies in the world, they get a lot of their products are from prison labor, right? And well, what's the racial demographic of people who go to prison?
Mostly
I mean,
black.
yeah, and then the black culture that gets, I hate saying black culture, but like lack of a better word, right?
Yeah.
That's perpetuated in the media and all these things. They are the you don't see how many rap, like you don't see any top 10 rap songs of people talking about like their stock portfolio or how much Bitcoin they own, or how much real estate they purchased, or like, yo man, I'm a doctor, nobody's rapping about becoming a doctor, right? And there's a reason for it. What?
I mean, like, nobody wants to listen to
No,
that
bullshit. That's bullshit. That's false. They're just not putting it out there.
Well,
it's because these people control what gets put out there.
No, I agree. The Jewish people too.
You know what? Listen.
You're about to get cancer.
No, bro, I'm one of those Jewish people. Like, we don't. That's what we don't
Jewish?
play. Yeah, I'm Jewish. Yeah.
I'm done.
No, I don't care. I don't care. No, I think it's funny. The whole thing is funny.
No, and I think in many ways, it's.
But they try to pit black and Jewish people against each other. And like, dude, we're like the most oppressed people historically speaking on planet Earth. So like, why would me as somebody who's Jewish like want to do anything to make anybody feel like the way my grandfather had to feel in Eastern Europe? Yeah. It's crazy.
And black people are also Israelites, bro. Like, don't get don't get it twisted, bro. Like, we are the original Israelites. Like, like, historically speaking, it wasn't just one sect of people. It was tribes of different people, right?
Well,
you know what I mean?
yeah, Israel's in the Middle East, and in the Middle East, you have people from all over the world that congregate there. So you will have black people who lived in Israel. Yeah. The first Jews you have people that were fair skin. You had people who were Middle Eastern. Yeah,
it's a rainbow, bro. And
yeah,
it's like, so I think it's funny when people want to classify people and divide people, because at the end of the day, we are more alike than we are different. But there is truth to the fact that, like, certain people have been exploited. Certain people have been taken advantage of, and in our modern age, it tends to be an issue of your skin color. Like, the darker skin you are, the more you are exploited. Like, one of the biggest, you said earlier, like, we're living in a better time now than ever before. But at the same token, I actually just listened to a Joe Rogan podcast he reported like last week.
Yeah,
and we technically have more slave labor going on nowadays than we ever had, historically speaking. And
is it as a percentage, or is it just as a total because we have more people?
Regardless, it's still there, right? And it's not even, we're not even talking about the prisons, right? What they were talking about is what's happening in the Congo.
Shit, in Libya. Yeah, they're the ones that are making our electric cars for the climate change. It's all
But they also make the phones, the batteries in the phones. They make the batteries in the speakers. Anything that has to do with a rechargeable battery.
Well, that's the thing too. There's the BLM activists that talk about social justice are wearing shoes that are made from slaves, and there's a total cognitive dissonance about that.
But it's not. So you hear me?
I'm using BLM as a specific example because we're talking about like how
it's at this point it's a matter of just like everybody is guilty, right?
Everybody's guilty,
and it's like so. Where I was getting at in saying that is that it's important to also remember that too, that like, okay, we might think things are better and things are and things have improved in other ways, but there's always something else, and it shows that, like, I feel like the reason why that shit is happening in the Congo, but if that shit was happening in England, it wouldn't have stand, right? But the fact that it's happening in Africa and it's still with a bunch of like poor black people, then therefore people are okay with it. Apple's okay with it. Samsung's okay with it. You know what I mean? But if that shit was happening in fucking England, no, bro, that shit would not fly, bro.
Well, here's another reason why it's okay with it, because our news isn't reporting it extensively, because the people in charge of the World Economic Forum, people who go to Davos, the people who go to these meetings, they have a large state. It's not about black people though. They have a large. They don't care about black people. They don't care about anybody who isn't them. It's not just black people. Like, it's not singled out to you, Mike. It's they don't care about you or me equally. To them, we are equally worthless.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, I don't think we are, but I think to the people that go to
I think people are going to be more likely, right? You're going to care about somebody who you have more in common with, right?
Well,
and more or less, right? And it's like, I know fuck shit happens in Asia and South America and all over, but it's like, you cannot tell me, like, and without going into all the details that's happening there, look it up.
Question, and this is just a question I want you to keep talking. But have you ever like listened to a World Economic Forum? It's super boring, but have you ever listened to like World Economic Forum panels while you're in your car?
No.
Okay.
Never.
Listen to those
okay.
if you have a chance. If you have a chance, and if you feel like you're going to go to sleep while you're doing it, then don't. But it's a sight to behold, because the people that are speaking at these World Economic Forum meetings, and this is why I said earlier, their weakness is wokeness, is they will, you say, oh, they don't care about you and this and that, and they don't care about black people. I'm like, well, yes, but here's what's even crazier about it, and it's that the suffering that you're mentioning, that you have a justifiable reason to be upset about, they will exploit that suffering by pretending to care about it, and by trying to get a bunch of large mega corporations to have even more influence on your day-to-day life and in the lives of these other poor third world countries in the name of racial equity. And that's why I said wokeness is another version of colonialization in the 21st century. I think that that's something more people need to understand and realize. Anyway, continue.
That's true. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, and I agree with that. I think, but long story short, because we gotta
start making money. We gotta start making money, bro.
But long story short, I think one of my favorite activist people I look up to is actually Gandhi, bro. And one of his quotes is always like, you have to be the change you want to see in the world. And I think that's what people got to really live by. Is like, you know, whatever you envision the perfect world, it starts by you living it and you being that inspiration for others. And it's like, you know, you can bitch and moan about how you want things to be, but at the end of the day, you have to make that change within yourself. Because if you can't do it, then you can't expect other people to do it. So I want people to live by that rule.
No, that's 100%. I think it's a good way to end too, because like I said, we got to, you know,
Yeah.
we got to put these vibes out to the
for a
public.
reason.
1,000%. We got the best job in the world, and we got to do it. All right, Mike, how do we get a hold of you? What's your Instagram? What's your handle? When's your next show? Tell us everything, man.
Apogee Presents, APOGEE Presents. You can find us on all social media platforms. Like I said before, our next show is going to be running sound for a Tribe Called Quest member, Ali Shaheed Muhammad. Bro, look it up. But we do music festivals all throughout Central Texas. Check us out. We are for the community, by the community, and we would love for you to be a part of our community.
No, Mike, this is fascinating. Thank you so much, dude. I'm loving it. Excited, baby. Let's go. All right, let's see if this actually uploads. Let's see if there's sound. That'd be fun. All right. Peace. Okay. Hold on. I think we clicked the X button. Are you sure you want to end your live video?